Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Person Behind the Pen. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you are where we were hit by the snowstorm, I do hope that you are faring well and back out on the roads. I myself haven't hit the roads. Well, I do work from home, so I don't need to. Oh, I am so excited for tonight's guest. She is a very dear friend of mine. She's also my accountability partner. And so many of you know her for her Monday, Mind Over Matter Mondays show, as well as Friday's Think and Grow Rich. Leslie Flowers is someone who I want to say stands strong in her convictions, whether they are popular or unpopular, as was myself, and people that do step out there and show their true identities. We do, in fact, always stay authentic to who we are. Leslie's friendship means a great deal to me. And without her assistance, Guiding Brilliant Writers would not be what it is today. So, what's going on with Guiding Brilliant Writers? Oh my goodness, today is January 27th. Today is the official 1 year date since the LLC was established. My last formal day of work was on February 6th. So I will be celebrating that day as well. And I believe that I said I would be celebrating it on February 7th on the episode of Nick Never in Control, where my husband will be my guest. He was once a guest with me, and we did, in fact, talk about what it was like to support a bipolar wife. We are going to be talking about what it is like to support a solopreneur partner. So that is something that I know a lot of my friends out there are facing right now. It is not an easy road. It is something you need to be extremely passionate about. You have to be dedicated and disciplined. And there are moments when you are not going to feel that you could take the next step. But it is in taking that next step that the success or determination of the success of your business is defined. So, what else is coming up for Guiding Brilliant Writers? Well, we are working on the Charitable Transformation Kitchen Cookbook, the inaugural edition, to be launched in March. Very excited for this one. I am an advisory board member for HR4U. My dear friend Chason Forehand, the founder, has been working nonstop to help lift lives through training others so they can earn a living wage. All of the food that comes out of the Transformation Kitchen goes toward ending food insecurity. The food that they produce there is also out there in a food truck serving the community. This is the kind of impact that we want to see with feet on the ground. These are the tangible types of impact, not just spoken about, but that you can see, including the build out of Transformation Kitchen in Rio de Sol, Nicaragua, where its first class of graduating students was celebrated last year. Oh my goodness, what else is coming? Yes, there is so much coming down the pike, and that's it, so much to share. All right, so next up would be the anthology, ninth anthology, being released by Guiding Brilliant Writers in just a little over 2 years. This is volume 2 of We Choose to Be More Than Our Diagnoses. Author call is underway. We still have spots, so if you're interested in writing, please reach out to me. You can do so at nickthegbw. That's nickthegbw@gmail.com. Or DM me on LinkedIn or Facebook. So thank you again so much for tuning in this evening. Your attendance is greatly appreciated. You are always so wonderful in the comments. And with that, I am going to bring up our beautiful guest, Leslie Flowers. Hello, it's so good to see you. How are you this evening?
I am wonderful, Nick. How are you this evening? You sound great.
Oh, I am good. Thank you. I had myself a little bit of a nap at 4 o'clock, so I'm all refreshed. Funny little thing with me. I am that Speedy Gonzalez in the morning, and then I need to have my little nappy time and a quick cup of coffee, and then I can go again for the rest of the evening into the night. So, well, you know this about me already anyway. But I love your hair. What did you do with your hair? You flat ironed it.
Yeah, yeah. It's a different look, right?
I grabbed the curling iron.
You curled yours, I straightened mine. So there you go.
Yeah, yeah. So oddly enough, I'm not seeing comments coming up on LinkedIn. So my only thought process here is there is something wrong with LinkedIn, which I would not be surprised because there often is times a situation with the connection and the comment showing. So if
Yes.
you are out there and you are not being acknowledged here on the live show, please know it is because I am not seeing your comments. So Leslie, we are on today to do a live reading from a People First Professional Networking platform, which is book two in the trilogy. We came as professionals who make impact as people. And so much of our lives is invested in this platform, or I should say, the people that we have connected with on this platform over the years. Many have established businesses that continue to grow and businesses that have been long-standing and quite lucrative. So tell us how long it is you've been on LinkedIn. I actually don't think I ever asked you this question.
Well, I don't know actually. I mean, I had an account some time ago, I think like so many people, right? And then moved to Facebook. And really at the time that I opened a LinkedIn account, it was really pretty much recruiting and jobs, probably 15, 20 years ago. Okay. But then I kind of didn't do anything with it. And but it was just a few years ago around the pandemic that I came back on to LinkedIn and really had to resurrect everything because I only had a few people there and I hadn't talked to them in years, so it was almost like starting again, you know.
I could only imagine, and I do apologize that I'm looking down, but it does look like comments are coming through. For whatever reason, they're not coming through here on the studio, so I'm unable to see. So I just want to make sure that I say hi to Jason and thank you so much for being here. Again, if I'm missing your comments, it is not intentional. So you have been here for quite some time. And it's interesting because I myself have only been here for about 3 years. And well, like many, okay, we joined and never did anything with the account uh, until recently. And I say until recently, meaning like within the last 5 years or so, I would say that I've met a lot of people that told me they only became active within the last 5 years or so. So you would have seen a ton of changes with the platform, things they've tried, things they've kept, things that they introduced, and all these constant changes to keep up with technology, with the demands of the market, with even the way we operate as professionals changing. So, little backstory. When I decided to do this trilogy in 2024, it actually was not a trilogy. It was an anthology. And the anthology was based on the LinkedIn platform and the love we have for it. So it was called a LinkedIn Love Affair. However, I do know that, that is a trademarked name. So I had reached out asking if I could use that name for the title of the book. Needless to say, the answer was no. And quite understandable because of, I suppose, the innuendo. But my thought process was I am, in fact, having a love affair with LinkedIn. After all, most of us that spend a tremendous amount of time on here have spouses, partners, children, friends that are like, shut your LinkedIn off. So we ended up switching that to a people first professional networking platform. And that's really what this is all about. We have, in fact, come on here, most of us as professionals, for a professional reason, whether it is we were job hunting, whether it is we were seeking an employee, or we were perhaps helping a friend that wanted to get a job. So now we stay. And why do we stay? Why have we stayed as long as we have? And that is where book two in this trilogy comes in. We came as professionals, we make impact as people. Because at the end of the day, people connect with people.
Mhm.
People do business with people that they like and trust, people they've done business with in the past and have built their trust within the people they've worked with. And those people continue to tell others about the experience and that these people are trustworthy to work with and that they will deliver. And a platform such as this helps us to continue to highlight our own work as well as the work of others. So before we go on, I want to make sure I say hello to our friend Christine Lynn Jones out there in the comments. Christine, thank you so much. Oh, I like that. Christina sharing on here that I can relate to LinkedIn holding my resume. I started actively using LinkedIn as a social networking platform. I am so blessed to know you. Well, we certainly feel the same way. And Christine actually did also do a co-chapter in this trilogy with her friend Kristen Lynn Norrie. And perhaps we will have them back because we did indeed have them on to do a reading as well. So, Leslie,
Yes.
wanted you to do a reading today from the book to share with the audience how it is you came to be on the LinkedIn platform. What were some of the things that you experienced in the beginning, and perhaps afterwards you could share with us a bit about where you are now throughout the journey, and is the journey what you anticipated that it would be?
So I can answer those questions afterwards, yes, or before or during.
Oops, not too clear. I would say probably after, because then this way they could get an introduction of what occurred and how it is that you came to be on here.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I do want to say that when I came back, it was in 2021. And so I'm going to back up a little bit. The story actually, or my contribution actually began in the spring of 1968 when I flew troops into Vietnam as a stewardess, taking U.S. troops into and out of Vietnam with a wonderful stop in Hawaii and the Philippines and Japan, and a whole week of all that traveling, bringing troops in and taking troops home. And then I'm not going to read everything to you, but then uh, I was married for 30 years. And in 2003, well, I'll start there because it'll be important to understand how I got to LinkedIn and how similar it was to the breakup of my marriage, right? What happened that actually landed me here. So early in 2003, my marriage of 33 years imploded. I wanted to save it. He didn't. It's fine when both want to work on it, yet useless it seems ultimately if one does not. He was doing something that I could not tolerate. It went against my core values, and he did not want to stop. I fought, though. I was proud of those years, which were mostly excellent. He was a wonderful husband, father, partner, and provider. That's why I didn't want to give up, even though it seemed that once again I was at the mercy of circumstances, ones I could not control or change, no matter how hard I tried. These roots were cut deeply, and it felt like I was walking on earthquake rubble with every step I took. I could not find firm ground. I sat in the dark and cried for 2 years. I went to work and came home and cried. Our children were on their own. He was gone, and I was alone, really alone. My family was broken. to the quick. Thank you, Bill. This was the longest time in my life feeling isolated, broken, and on my own. After 2 years of feeling sorry for myself, I had had it. One day I woke up and threw myself into landmark education transformation programs to get my mind working and retook the forum. Amazing work. And for the next 3 years, I participated in everything and I had a new family. After COVID quarantines in 2021, my computer was hacked and I was booted off Facebook permanently. I spent 10 years monetizing my business there and those last 5 with a women's group that served me well. For years, I had been suggesting to my clients that they go to LinkedIn to do business. I knew that the average annual income on LinkedIn far surpassed those on Facebook. So it made sense, although I didn't do it. Instead, I spent pretty much all day on Facebook. I had an extremely neglected profile on LinkedIn. It felt like all that talking I had done, encouraging my clients to get on LinkedIn, must have been inauthentic to the universe because I was hit on the back of the head with a 2x4 with the loss of my life on Facebook. So I began rebuilding my business on LinkedIn one step at a time. I started with doing things I did on Facebook that worked well. I soon discovered that one thing that did not work well on LinkedIn was a group page. They were dynamite on Facebook, not so much on LinkedIn. I began observing and learning. LinkedIn had changed from what it seemed was job postings only to something else. Here I was bereft of roots. I lost my Facebook family, and my children were growing families of their own. For the last dozen years, I have been Uber Nana to my 4 grandchildren who live close by. I loved it. I shuttled them to and from dance, gymnastics, voice lessons, baseball, and theater. It kept me in family. Between building back on LinkedIn and my role as Uber Nana, I had my family, yet it wasn't the same for LinkedIn. During the past few years, all 4 grandchildren began driving. They didn't need Uber Nana anymore, services anymore. Their families were growing just as I did when I was a girl. I do not remember being really interested in my grandmothers growing up unless I was in their midst. I love them as my family loves me, yet it is different. I was not privy to everything in the family now, and I felt alone, missed them, and I absolutely understood it wasn't a lack of love for me. It was thriving and growing in their family, all alone. None of my family was interested in what I was doing. As I continued to grow my LinkedIn network and hosting audio rooms, live streams, and supporting others, something unexpected happened. I came to LinkedIn to share the work I've been done for 25 years with those who were ready for it. I began to step into my authentic self, being who I am. I tell the truth and have spent years learning to be diplomatic about it. Early 2024, I picked up the outline from a fiction. Is it okay to continue on? Should I continue? Yeah. Okay. Thank
Absolutely. This is a live reading
you.
from
Okay.
what you wrote in this trilogy.
Thank you. Early in 2024, I picked up the outline from a fiction I started 25 years ago when my marriage imploded, and I was at my lowest point and decided to write my first fiction. I had 9 books already in all nonfiction, primarily around my expertise, but this was different. When I created the outline for Errata, I did it while driving 8 hours each weekend. It was all visualization and fantasy, and it just so happened to throw this into the mix to heal my wounded heart. I fell in love with someone to fill that hole. So it was the high vibration of love I felt that fueled the visualization. Along came several people at just the right time to take my work of fiction, my dream of a better world for all of us, took hold of my hand and walked with me until it was published into the world. This is my new family. Boy, is this auspicious today. This is my new family. All those who see me and who I've become, of which my immediate family has no clue. My LinkedIn immediately family of 5 supports me and walks with me. They can call me at 3 a.m. and I can do the same. I came to LinkedIn as a professional to make a difference and impact people by teaching them to step into their inherent greatness. I find a new kind of family who knows and loves the me I have become, knows my heart right here on LinkedIn. So I came to LinkedIn to make an impact as a professional, yet it is who I am as a person that makes the true impact. Every loneliness I have felt at various times in my life has been matched with the love of a new sense of family and belonging. I wish the same for each of you. Remember us boomers who love you as grandparents, share and in transition have much to share with you and are open to receiving and belonging. That's it.
You know what? I love the way you ended. There are millennials, a much younger generation. Let's leave it at that. Coming onto the platform and seeing the benefits of it, and they, because of where they are somewhat reshaping the landscape of the platform.
Mm.
When they hear messages like this, when they pick up a book like this, it shows them that boomers here, long before they were a part of this and continue to be a part of this evolving platform.
Mm. Mm.
And the message we deliver, that of connection, is not changing. It has not changed and will never change. Because you share as your life progressed and as the kids grew up and as the grandchildren grew up, your role within their lives now changed.
Mm.
You came to LinkedIn and you found a new role. And there was a transition of a role as well from one platform to another. And
Yes.
while we represent ourselves as who we are in each platform's market is different. So
Mm.
perceptions are different.
Yeah.
So you are now able to connect with a different market. And these people not only came to understand all the years of experience that you brought with you and all your teachings, but they started to learn who you were as an individual. And I can say this because I attend Mind Over Matter Mondays, and I consistently see the same people show up every single week in the dozens, okay, and who are very engaged in the conversation. And every week there are new faces. That means that what you are sharing is worth something and it is spreading.
Thank you.
So while you might have had to come here and rebuild, and you did, you came with the knowledge of how you built on another platform. And what's good is that you allowed yourself to not simply replicate the steps, but accept where you were within a new environment and observe. So you could,
I did accept, but I took a whole year fighting with Facebook, right? Because it was because it was unfair. And I would find people along the way. Oh, I know people at Facebook. I know we can get to it. I said, great, let's see if we can break through. There was no breaking through. The
Oh,
smartest people I could find couldn't do this for me. So I really had no choice but to choose the way it was and the way it wasn't.
I read something very interesting in a post today. I forget by whom, but I believe it was Lynn Halbrooks, and she was talking about. She used the analogy of a river, and that the river would or was taking this path. Um, I don't know if she said it was a boulder or something happened that redirected the course of the river, but the river continued on its way. Sometimes that obstacle that you consider an obstacle is not an obstacle.
Hmm.
It was put there for a reason for you to transition, for you to
Well,
redirect. There are several paths to your final destination.
hmm.
The one that you're walking is not always necessarily the one that you will remain on.
Well
You
said.
may even cut other paths not there traveled before, and you may step back on to the previous and so forth. But for each of us, the journey is different, similar but different, parallel but nearer and further apart at different times.
Yes,
But we are all heading in the general direction of we are looking for our greatness. And in that, we are looking for the greatness in others.
that's right.
Nobody wants to get to the finish line alone. How very sad and lonely that would be.
Yes,
So
yes. Did you see that Bill said?
I did. Thank you. I did
Yes,
put
Bill
that
said there
there.
are people watching on LinkedIn. Do let them know. Um,
Yes.
we appreciate them and love them, and I hope that they enjoyed the reading. Thank you, Bill.
Thank
So
you so much,
nice.
Bill. I did throw it up there while you were reading. I didn't want to be rude and interrupt you,
Oh,
but this is not going to be the first show this month that this has happened, and it likely is going to proceed into next month. There's been a lot of technical issues with live streaming on LinkedIn,
mhm.
and we often tell each other, "Go follow me on YouTube," and we say, "Yep, we did. We subscribed." So this is
Mhm,
your
mhm.
opportunity to attend the shows and continue to engage, but on a different platform. So the show is about the LinkedIn trilogy, however, and we will not discredit all that we have benefited off of from being here.
Oh,
And no
yeah.
matter how much this landscape changes and how much people decide to step away and try other things, they will decide if they're going to gravitate back here. And they will be able to compare and know whether or not this is the platform for them. For me, it continues to be my platform of choice. It um, the type of people that I would like to associate with live here. The type
Mhm,
of people
mhm,
and the way their mindset goes, right? Which
mhm.
is one of growth, one of accepting that things do not always remain the same and it's okay. So they are consistently looking for to take the next step in their journey. These are the type of people that I have surrounded myself with and that I want to continue to surround myself with, like Leslie. So for someone that has now written her own books, sorry, um, and written in several other collaborative books and stepped outside of the realm of what most of our community have written in, which is nonfiction. You've gone now and written a sci-fi fantasy. What made you, let's say, participate in the last anthology that we did at the end of last year, which was the second or third, sorry, annual Legacy Chronicles. And the reason I ask that is because this show is the person behind the pen, and it is meant to highlight the people that write, whether they're new writers or seasoned writers. What for you is the draw in sharing your story or stories, because we have many, and what makes you keep coming back to share more as the years have gone on?
Well, the legacy books are very special, although this was special too. But I have to admit that what was it, 2024, the end of the year, and 2025 got me started really thinking about writing my legacy because, as I said, even in this book, that my grandkids don't really know what I'm doing now that they're grown up. My own kids, they know some things, but I've spent 25 years without them, basically, on developing my own business and doing things while they're busy doing their lives.
Mm-hmm.
uh, and actually my niece and nephew began asking me questions about the history of our family. And my family came from Russia and Poland, um, like in the early 1900s. And so, but there's not we don't know a lot, because when you're a kid and you're younger, you don't think to ask your grandparents about these stories. So
Mm-hmm.
when you suggested this legacy anthology year before last, I thought, oh, well, I'll just write my memoir here and there'll be all the answers. I could say what I knew about where they lived in Russia, and that my grandmother's uncle was Leon Trotsky, and that's a whole phenomenal story, which will be part of the next part in Errata, the next chronicle that's coming this year of the fantasy. So I wrote, but when I wrote it 2 years ago, I realized, well, I only had 3,500 words and I've lived a long life. So Nick says, well, we're going to do it again next year. I said, okay, well, I'll finish it up next year. Let me get to a certain point. So all of that history that I know about when my grandparents, great grandparents, and all of that, up until when I had my children, got married and had children. So when last Christmas came around, or last year, I realized that I could only do part two because it was so much, right? For the next, so as the first 25 years and the next 25 years, and God willing, at the end of this year, I'll finish it up with the final 25 years. So
Well, you know,
that's why I did it, because I thought they're asking questions. So I
right.
should tell them so they'll know once I'm gone those things that I never knew, but they'll know them.
You know what? God willing, that we will all be blessed with such a long and productive life and a loving family who, if even are busy doing what they're doing, are very grateful to Ubanana, who has been there over the years and continues to be there when they need you. And
Yeah.
that is the important thing. And there was a reason I asked you what made you continue your writing journey throughout the years, even though you have authored a number of times. And that is because she shared in quote unquote a LinkedIn love affair, and she also shared in the Legacy Chronicles. This is all part of her legacy. Every choice that we make, every person we come into contact with, um, in fact, every breath we take from the day we are born till the day we take our last, we are building our legacy, whether intentionally or not, because this is our life story.
You know, I think the best part, if I can share about this, the letter to my family um, last year. Oh, what did he? Let's see what he has to say. I'm okay. I'll remember.
Oh, not at all.
Okay.
He's letting us know that LinkedIn is a great platform because it's one of the platforms when people are asked to show up, they show up for you. And I
Oh,
agree with you, Bill.
thank you. Thank you, Bill. That's so sweet. So, and I appreciate that. And all of you for being here. So, when I sat down to write for the letter to my family this last year, this last fall, Q4, I kind of had writer's block. I don't know if you remember, but I just couldn't get myself into it. Like I knew the first 25 years, that was fabulous, but I had to get my head in gear for what happened once my kids were born all the way until like 25 years in before they got born. And now they're all 20, 19, 18. So it's about 25 years. So I was talking with Nick, it was like 2 days before it's due, and I haven't written anything because I can't figure out how I'm going to do this. Now, I don't remember exactly how this happened, but we were talking about things we had written, and in my mind, I got a hunch, right? An errant thing, memory popped into my mind, which had the answer. And this is why I believe that our intuition is connected directly to the universe, and the universe is within us. And intuition is the whisper. It's not the anger or the fear, but it's that whisper that barely gets a word in edgewise, right? Which is intuition. So when I was a freshman in college, I was 17, and in my English 6.1 class, I had to write 6 compositions, and I hated compositions. So the first one I had a C. And I asked the professor if I could write in any style, did it have to be composition? Because it just seemed so uninspiring. He said, you can write in any style that you want as long as you answer the questions, right? And as you do the assignment. Well, so for Dante's Inferno, that particular book, I wrote the 10th circle of hell in the voice of Dante, as though he had written it. In Voltaire's Candide, I didn't like the ending when we got to that one. So I wrote a different ending. And when we got to Waiting for Godot, the Theater of Absurd with Samuel Beckett, I read half of it, stopped, and wrote a play, finished the play in 4 hours, and then finished reading Waiting for Godot. In that moment, I remembered the play, and I studied drama in college. So what I did is I created a play with my 4 grandchildren, me and my 4 grandchildren, a real play, which we actually did at Christmas with all 4 of them reading their parts. And it had all the accoutrements of a play, the characters, the scene description for real. And the play was about all the stories about their parents that they always have me tell over and over and over again. Like my son with the little brown jacket with the pointed hood. Tell us the story about when it was left in the woods, Nana. Right? So they all had a part, and that way I made sure they all read it, and everybody else was just laughing and carrying on, right? And of course I was the star, I was the Nana. So that is because of that conversation, Nicole, because that memory came back to me. I realized I would write a play and do all the things, all the wonderful stories that they always ask me to repeat.
And now they have it in a different form. They have it in the form as something they physically acted out, interacted with each other, and they've had the opportunity now to see their parents' response and expressions to how much they wanted to know about their lives. The thing with writing and that creative imagination is whether it's the first time you're writing or whether it's the 10th time you're writing, every time you sit to put pen to paper, it is a new adventure. It is a new chapter. There are many styles of writing, and throughout your journey, you will develop different ones, and you will come to appreciate ones that you love more than others. There is no right or wrong way to share your story. The truest way to share it is in its truest form. It's that simple. And that comes from within you, and the words that mean something to you and that you are capable of producing. Because remember, people are going to relate to you, the person, in the manner in which you put yourself out there. So, again, these are things that I ask and that I share on this show in particular, because I've come across many people who've never written before, who want to write and not even write a book. They just want to be able to be comfortable to write, whether it's on social media, whether it is in a newsletter, or some sort of content just for their business that isn't even personal. And oftentimes people can feel intimidated by getting started, right? And so I want to share something really quick before we sign off because we have just a few minutes left. It is a lot easier to write about other people. It's something people say all the time. I would actually tell you, I find it quite easy to write about myself. And it was not always the case. When you come to a point of such self-ownership, you are not concerned about writing about you. And it is not that it's a bad thing that you're not there, not at all. We are all works in progress. So I suggest this. If you need to write a piece of content about your business and you want to somewhat humanize it, I'll use Leslie and I as an example. I would sit down and I would write 3 paragraphs about Leslie Flowers Enterprises. I would write about her 2 live shows and the impact that she has made on others in a very human way, and how it is that people relate to her and the examples within her life journey that come back full circle to the principles that she teaches. And then every single way I wrote that, I would replace her with me, she with I, her company's name with my company's name. Because we all have principles that we live by, that we teach and talk about. We all have our unique way of connecting with other human beings. You are no different than the person of whom you're writing. Write it about somebody that you admire very much and whom you know very well. And go back and change, like I said, every reference to that person to yourself. Then go back and tweak the in-betweens to be curtailed toward your business. Because you could talk about your business better than you could talk about yourself. So try doing that. There are lots of little tips and tricks Nick has up her sleeve. Don't talk about them much, but when you do write with me, you do hear about them. And I not only do that, I exemplify them. Go take a look at my profile. You will not see one kind of content. Trust me. You will see many kinds of content because that's who we are. We're multifaceted.
And one of the things that you're talking about is a way of emulating character elements and making them your own. So it can be anybody. I mean, I know that in Think and Grow Rich, I think it's in the principle of the subconscious mind is where Napoleon Hill actually visualized right before he went to bed, himself at a table with Edison, Ford, like a whole bunch, maybe 6 or 8 of the wealthy, happy, and healthy people 100 years ago. And he would ask each one of them, Lincoln, teach me how to be patient like you. Edison, teach me how to be persistent like you, right? Mm-hmm. And what he discovered was that pretty soon, each one of those men had certain behavioral characteristics in his visualization. So that's kind of the magic. But you're really onto something here, because emulation is a way, if you do it repeatedly, to actually absorb that behavior as part of your own character and you do it on purpose. I guess you could do it by default too, right? You could pick up habits from people that maybe aren't the greatest habits, but you could actually do exactly what you said. And I'm so glad you brought that up for potential writers and even those who are already writers. It's a
Thank
great
you. I
tip.
appreciate that. People tell
Sure.
you, create an avatar in your mind and write about or to that avatar. That
Yeah.
is the avatar of yourself they're speaking about. But as it is, you can't even form thoughts to highlight who you are, what you do in your business. How are you transferring this to an avatar that looks like you or holds the characteristics that you believe you hold that you're seeing that this avatar does? You can so much quicker see it in someone else. And
Yeah.
not everybody is at the level of, well, I'm stepping into my super this and, you know, this, that, whatever. Fourth grade, make it simple. Keep it simple.
Mhm.
I've written a lot of posts to spotlight other people and their work. All I did is turn around and said to myself, I could see myself in each of them. So every little part that I see in each of them, I'm going to put together about myself. Because if I don't talk about my work, who's going to talk about my work? The
Right.
people that work with me aren't going to work with me or haven't worked with me because they didn't know what it is I did. They worked with me because they knew what I did. So we have to learn to be comfortable speaking about ourselves. If you can't embrace yourself, you cannot embrace other people.
And it's really the first time you do, well, every time you do it, it's exciting. But gosh, I mean, I remember the first book I did was in 2009, and it was a compilation of my students' works, and it was called, I don't even know if I have it here right now. It's called Kettle Dreams, a mastermind guide to think and grow rich. And if you remember the kettle, right, the kettle that had the Coca-Cola formula in it was sold in one of the chapters in Think and Grow Rich to a drugstore, a druggist, for $500. And that kettle had the formula for Coca-Cola, which went on to be right to that particular company to give people work all over the world and still does for that matter. Oh my goodness. But why did I bring that up? Let's see. Oh, shoot. I lost my train of thought.
It was
Oh,
an interesting tidbit of history, though. Thank you.
oh. Oh gosh. I'll go. We'll listen to this later and I'll go, oh, that's where I was. Anyway, we're a little over time, but what was, there was something that about that. What were we talking about before that?
I have no idea, but we will remember. Well, in good time.
Okay.
I appreciate you coming on, doing the live reading.
Yeah.
Thank you for all your continued support. Um, you encourage me to think, free thinking, and to lean into my intuition and come up with my own ways. And that is part of the encouragement for me to share what I just did.
That's wonderful.
Well,
And thank you for inviting me. And
of
really for
course.
people that, if, oh, I know what I was telling you. I was telling you how wonderful it feels when you write your first book or when you even write the first contribution.
Mhm.
It's exciting every time, but if you've never experienced it, it's something you must do. When I was growing up, I never thought that we could ever write a book because nobody knew any, there was no self-publishing. In 2009, that's right, that was the first book. It was an anthology. It was Think and Grow Rich, a mastermind guide, and it was Kettle Dreams. And I had all my students. The question was, what's the big deal about Think and Grow Rich? Now, this is in 2009, so I'd started teaching it in 2008. And I had all these cohorts, and we were studying every week. And I suggested to everybody, hey, how would you like to be an author? And they said, sure. I said, well, take one of the principles of success and give me 250, 300 words about why you chose that one as the most important one.
Hmm.
At that time, I lived about a half hour from Lulu. Lulu was the first publishing company.
Yes, I
Right,
know.
right. So I went there and was able to look at the printed copy and give them the thumbs up, right? Rather than waiting for them to send you a copy to review. So all of those people in 2009 became authors. And the cover was done by a 12-year-old student of mine.
Amazing.
Yes. So that's the story. And now I remembered it.
And it's been a wonderful almost an hour. And you are right. It is a surreal feeling to hold the book in your hand and open it and see your picture and your story in it. Give yourself that opportunity. I would suggest at least once,
Yep.
because you'd be surprised at how much you will discover about yourself and your abilities, the one that you think you don't have. You can scan the QR code up there just above Leslie to get a copy of Book 2 in the Trilogy, a People First professional networking platform. And perhaps, the other way, Leslie, and perhaps you would stop to think for a minute about your own LinkedIn journey, how long you've been here, and why it is you stay. So, with that, I want to thank everyone so much. Have a wonderful rest of your week. We will be back next week with another episode of The Person Behind the Pen, and I am excited to introduce you to someone um, that's not actually familiar with our community. And I know how wonderful everyone that I work with is always willing to welcome people in. So I am grateful that he's going to take time with us next week. His keynote just had over 750,000 views. All right. So have a wonderful evening, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you.